So we finally have the full spoilers for chapter 13 of Boruto Vortex, and let's just say that I was right about everything. It's almost as if I have the same ability that Kashin Koji was revealed to possess in this chapter. So we have a lot to discuss, but of course we're gonna start from the top. So the person on the cover for this month is Boruto, and you guys will understand why by the end of this video. Now this spoiler drop pretty much goes right into it because it first says that Kashin Koji has the ability to see into the future and the past. It then goes on to say that he saw a Shinju of Shinki. Now this is very interesting, of course, because I actually predicted this in my video about the Thorn Soul Bulb. And I think this was pretty obvious because Kashin Koji said that it's something that he saw before, which implies that it's not something he heard about, it's something he saw with his own eyes. He even goes as far as saying the name of the item itself, which corresponds with what Jura calls it as well. This means that Kashin Koji, not Boruto, has seen this before, or at least he was told what the name was. Now the reason why this ties into the Great Toad Sage, and we're probably gonna go in depth on it in the actual review and not in this video, but to get just a brief understanding of it, the Great Toad Sage has the ability to see into the future, and he has done this multiple times in Naruto. He saw Naruto was going to become the child of prophecy, saw that Naruto was gonna meet Killer Bee. So it is possible that maybe he got this ability through Jiraiya's cells because Jiraiya was a Toad Sage, or maybe he was implanted with the cells of the Great Toad Sage himself, and that's how he gained the ability. We have no idea, but I guess we're going to find out soon. What I will say is that there's another possibility, but we're going to address that when we get to that point in the spoilers. As for Shinki, as you guys know, Shinki is Gaara's son, his adopted son. So if Kashin Koji did see a Shinju of Shinki, this might introduce an interesting dynamic between this Shinju and Boruto, because Boruto does have a unique relationship with Shinki, at least in the anime, because he's basically non-existent in the manga. But we'll see how that plays out. Now then goes on to say that while Jura went to attack Boruto, who's on the floor, the bug Shinju comes through Jura's claw mark and takes the Thorn Soul. So of course, you know, Jura has Hidari's Thorn Soul, and this seems a bit weird based on what was said later on in the chapter, because it kinda implies that the bug Shinju stole it, but I don't think that's the case. So just wait until we get to that point in the review. Now it then goes on to say that there's a flashback of a 14-year-old Boruto who saw a toad and it talks to him. He grabs it, but it reverse summons him to Orochimaru's hideout, but he meets Kashin Koji. So pretty much what we saw in the early spoilers that I did a video on a few days ago. It then says Boruto tells Kashin Koji, "Who are you?" But they have a long talk. So pretty much what was said in the chapter isn't really covered in this spoiler release, and that's a good thing because of course it leaves a lot to be desired so you guys can actually read the chapter. Okay, so yeah, we have a lot to discuss when the actual chapter comes out. But yeah, it then goes on to say that when Ishiki defeated Kashin Koji, Koji saw the future that Barren Mode Naruto would fight Ishiki. That code created the Claw Grimes, Ada making omnipotence. He saw the future events after Ishiki beats him. He even saw the Shinjus, but he sees a Shinju of Shinki. So as you can see, the sentence is a bit like, you know, jumbled and not really properly constructed, but the overall point is everything that was said here. He basically saw the future of everything that was going to take place. So Kashin Koji even tells Boruto about Shibai Otsutsuki. He goes on to say that Shibai has the claw marks. He confirms that Delta, Boro, Code, Damon, Ada, and himself were amped in power by Shibai's cells. Now the reason why this is crazy is because it was implied in the story that only Ada and Damon were amplified by Shibai's cells, and that's how they received his abilities and also why they were so strong. But Koji implies here that almost all of them were implanted with his cells aside from maybe Victor and Kawaki, because Kawaki wasn't mentioned here. So this does open a can of worms, because it also leads back to why Kashin Koji has the ability to see into the future and the past, because it could have just been one of Shibai's multiple abilities. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. What I will say is that depending on how much cells of Shibai Kashin Koji received, this could also explain why he wasn't affected by omnipotence. That's assuming that he wasn't, and which is why he's working with Boruto, because of course omnipotence doesn't work on Otsutsukis. Now I'm not saying that Kashin Koji isn't an Otsutsuki, but maybe he has enough cells to not be affected fully or just fight against the ability. But again, we'll have to wait and see. This is just me speculating based on this spoiler release. Now the next portion says, going back to the present, Boruto gets up and puts on the headband Sasuke gave him. Hima then wakes up and heals Sarada. So it doesn't say that she heals Boruto, so it could be that she did and they just didn't put it here. But it could also be that Boruto just healed himself, because Boruto does have a healing factor through Momoshiki. And this is so crazy to me because I mentioned this in my video the other day and someone was in a comment saying that, oh, Momoshiki can't heal, Boruto can't heal, he doesn't have any healing factor. I'm like, did you guys not read Boruto? He literally healed his hand when he caught Kawaki's firebomb, and also when Ishiki broke his back and his wrist. Like, this was literally stated in the series multiple times. So I don't know, it's just crazy to me. But yeah, Momoshiki does have a healing factor and he likely just healed Boruto's body, or Boruto just has control over the ability. But yeah, side note, Himawari is back, so we might see some interaction between Himawari and Boruto, which would be awesome. It then says Sumire is standing next to Boruto, which is weird to me, and not that she's standing next to Boruto, but the fact that this is mentioned in the spoilers. Like, yeah, Sumire is standing next to Boruto. What does that mean? You know, like, why is that here? I don't know. I just found it weird. Maybe something happened and they just didn't put it here, but like, why? I guess we'll see. By the way, only 76% of you guys are subscribed to the channel. So if you guys are enjoying the content that I put out on a weekly basis, which includes chapter reviews, spoiler reviews, and also theory and power scaling videos, you guys can subscribe to the channel to show your support. And you guys can also join the Patreon, because that's where live streams will be uploaded, which will be on the free section. But if you guys want to chip in and support the channel, the tiers are also available. But with that said, let's get back into the video. Now the next point says, but unexpectedly, Konohamaru puts handcuffs on Boruto from behind. So Boruto pretty much got speed blitzed by Konohamaru, which is absolutely insane. Now of course, Boruto could easily break out of this. What I will say is that maybe it's something special, because you would assume that Konohamaru knows that this can't hold Boruto. And if he believes that Boruto is the villain that he thinks he is, I don't see why he would think this would work. So obviously he's kind of weighing his options and he believes Boruto will cooperate. So we'll see how this plays out, but obviously it's the Superman situation. Yo, he can break out at any time. He can even teleport with FTG, because if he's handcuffing his hands, that means they're together, so he can do hand signs. So we'll see how this plays out though. Now then says Kawaki grabs Koji's toad and he shrinks it. But I did see another translation that says it just disappears, so it seems like Kashin Koji resummoned it. But yeah, when the chapter comes out, I guess we'll find out. Now this bullet point says Jura decides to go back to the Shinju dimension and he puts the Thorn Soul on the cube, which leads to Hidari's return. Now this is why I said the initial point was a bit confusing, because first it said that Jura was on his way to attack Boruto, but then the bug Shinju came out of the claw mark and grabbed the Thorn Soul bulb. But now it's saying that Jura decides to go back to the Shinju dimension and he puts the Thorn Soul bulb on the cube. So I'm not sure what exactly is going on here, maybe some mistranslations or something. But the most important part is of course the return of Hidari, which I also did predict, and some of you guys said I was wrong, but here we are. With that said, this was pretty obvious based on the fact that Jura still has his plotline of needing to know why he wants to consume Sarada, and this deep relation to the Sasuke Shinju with Boruto and Sarada makes it very clear that Hidari was going to return. His plotline isn't over. So I'm looking forward to this revived version of Hidari, because of course he's going to be more evolved from this near-death experience. And I think it's not going to be as easy to get rid of him as it was before, and he's likely just way stronger than he was before as well. But again, you know, this is just speculation. We'll see. Now I did see another spoiler that said there's a new Thorn Soul in the Shinju tree, and Mitsuri grabs it and places it on the cube, and that's where the chapter ends. So there seems to be a separate Thorn Soul from the one Hidari created, and this could have been a different Shinju that died in the past, but this could have also been how the Shinjus were created. So I think this chapter is going to reveal a lot of things, because it was implied to be text heavy by the spoiler guys, so I guess we'll see how that plays out. What I will say is that I am a bit disappointed that we didn't get to see Momoshiki again. So Kishimoto is really dragging his foot there when it comes to Momoshiki, because since Jura retreated to the 10 Tails dimension and Boruto is being handcuffed and it seems that Boruto is healed up, there's absolutely no reason for Momoshiki to come out. So I guess that's just a dead end there. But we might get something interesting when it comes to the history of the Shinju and Shibai, because again, Kashin Koji doesn't just have the ability to see into the future. Based on these spoiler releases, he has the ability to see into the past as well. So we might see some information on what exactly happened to Shibai and maybe how Amado came to possess his cells. But I do think think that just leads back to Ishiki. That makes the most sense, but of course it could be something else and we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe Ishiki was completely daft and he just didn't realize that Amado was working with the cells of one of the strongest Otsutsukis in the history of the franchise. I highly doubt that's the case, but anything is possible. But yeah, that's it for the spoiler releases. I'm probably gonna stream later on today or maybe tomorrow, because as you guys can see, we didn't get the actual panels, and typically you don't want to include the panels in the videos anyway, because that way you can avoid copyright strikes. But we can still do a stream tomorrow if you guys are up for it and if I'm available, but we'll see how that plays out, and we can just go over the actual panels if YouTube allows it. With that said, let me know your thoughts down below, drop a like if you liked the video and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.